Ah, the Bug type. By many seen as the weakest Pokémon type that only exists to teach new trainers the basics of being a Pokémon trainer, like catching and evolving. This might have been correct in the earlier generations, but how further Pokémon evolved, the stronger the Bug type became. I think personally that they are very underestimated, just think about Scizor or Heracross. In this video, we'll try to conquer Pokémon Black 2 Challenge Mode with only catching Bug-type Pokémon, and with these hardcore rules. You can only catch the first Bug-type Pokémon or Pokémon that will become a Bug-type on a route. Our Pokémon won't be higher leveled than the highest level of the next gym leaders or Elite Force Ace. I cannot use items in battle, and if a Pokémon faints, it is considered dead. We start our journey in Aspertia City, where we can choose our first Pokémon from Bianca. Because there isn't a starter who will be a Bug-type Pokémon or is a Bug-type Pokémon, it doesn't matter who we choose, but to make sure that our rival has a Fire-type on his team, we start with Snivy. After learning how to catch a Pokémon and meeting the former champion of this region, we make our way to Route 20, where we can find our real starter, Sewaddle. She has a calm nature, and that's probably the worst nature that we could have, because now she has minus attack. And to have a good shot at this game, we will need to EV train our Pokémon. And because we have minus attack on our Sewaddle, that's the one stat that really needs to be the best before the next gym. So we would need to defeat a lot of Patrat. Or not, because in our first battle the Patrat gets a critical hit on the worst time and we lose our only Pokémon, and with that our first run ends here. So in attempt 2 we do the exact same things, choosing Snivy and catching a Sewaddle, but this time he has a much better nature. In Impish nature we lose the almost useless special attack for this Pokemon and gain some handy defense. After gaining some levels with Flint Point 2, we battle our rival for the very first time with a Bug Pokemon. Luckily, Use Tepic doesn't have a Fire type move at this moment, because otherwise it would be a very fast exit. But thanks to our high attack from all the defeated Patrat, we win a very easy first battle with some tackles. First gym is in our hometown of Aspertia, and we battle the rival from the first Unova games, Charon, who recently became a gym leader. He uses, thanks to the challenge modes, 3 Pokemon instead of 2, and all the battles have a higher level cap. He starts with a Patrat of his own, but with only 2 Bug Bites we defeat it. Next up is his strongest Pokemon, Lilliput, but thanks to our Bug Bite we can steal its Oran Berry and restore some of the lost HP. After some extra Bug Bites we defeat the Lilliput, and the last Pokemon is Pidove. Normally a flying type would be a disaster for us, but luckily he also hasn't a 4 times effective move, and after some tackles the Pidove faints and we win our first gym battle and the basic badge. Because the next gym would be impossible with even a fully EV trained Sewaddle, I make one exception in the rule that I can only catch the first Bug type Pokemon. In the dark grass on Route 20 you can find a whole new bundle of Pokemon, so technically you can say that this is a different route. Here I catch a Venipede who I name Heimlich. After these 2 names, let's see if you can guess what naming theme I am using for this episode. In Verbank we have our second gym battle against Roxie, and it is Heimlich who's the rockstar of the show. He starts with using the Fence Curl for 2 reasons. One is to boost his defense, and secondly it powers up Heimlich's rollout. And after a few powered up rollouts we defeat Coughing, and when Whirlipede comes out it is one-shotted just like her final Pokemon Grimer. After we received the Toxic Badge, it is time to go to Castelia City. But before that we need to make one quick stop at one of the best places in the entire Pokemon world, the Pokestar Studios. There we tried to make a movie, but it's a flop and we got kicked out. After getting kicked out, we kick Self some butt and battled Team Plasma for the first time. After dealing with them, our Sewaddle is the first one to evolve, and with a bigger friend we go to the big city Castelia. When we arrive in Castelia we go to Game Freak and demand for better Pokemon, so after we defeat them he does, and he evolves our Swadloon and Venipede for their next forms. With our evolved team we go battle this town's gym leader and lesser Bug type trainer, Burch. He starts off with a Dwebble with Sturdy, so we start with Levani's Bug Bite so we can do some damage and steal its Citrus Berry. A second Bug Bite does the job. Next up is Carablast, so we need to switch to Whirlipede who holds an Eviolite so it can take some punches. Now we do the same thing that we did against Roxie and start rolling. 2 rollouts is enough to take it out. Our third rollout is not enough to defeat its Levani, and we luckily avoid some grass whistles so that the 4th and 5th defeats the last 2 of Burke's Pokemon and receive the Insect Badge. On the Desert Resort we can finally find our third team member, the rock Pokemon Dwebble. Dim has a sassy nature, so it has decreased speed and gains some special defense. Pair it up with a shell armor ability and we have found our wall for the run. Immediately after our third team member we find our fourth. In the Lost Thorn Forest we can find a 5% Heracross and a 10% Combi, and after some repeats we get very lucky and find a female Combi. I hoped for a Heracross, but a female Combi might be better for this part of the game, because as soon as we can catch it, it evolves into a Vespiquen, same as Whirlipede into his final form Scolipede. With our two new additions we can try and defeat the electric type gym leader Elesa. She starts with Emolga and I will start with Dwebble. The gimmick of this gym is Volt Switch. My strategy is to set up Stealth Rocks so every switch does some extra damage. With Joltik on the field, I switch to Scolipede because it has the best defense on the team. Joltik then switches with Volt Switch and sadly gets a critical hit. I gave Scolipede the left odor so we can gain some HP back, and thanks to Protect we gain another turn of HP. Then we use Poison Tail, who also crits, and defeat Emolga. Next up is Abstrika, so I want to scout out what moves it will do, so I protect one turn, and then I see that it wants to Pursuit, so I know that switching won't be a good idea, so I start with Bug Bite. With the Bug Bite we steal its Citrus Berry and heal up some more. After a Stomp it gets Poison thanks to our Poison Point ability, but sadly we are flinched. Elesa heals, but the Poison Tail is enough to defeat Substrika. Against Fluffy I also start with a Protect, while Fluffy tries to paralyze me. When I saw that, I switched to Leavanny because he has a Cherry Berry who cures paralysis. We are faster than the Fluffy but can't defeat it with one Razor Leaf. And at the second time of action she can paralyze our Leavanny. Because we are slower she can hit a Confuse Ray and confuse us, and immediately hit herself in confusion. Having seen that, I switch out to Heimlich to take a hit and then after another Protect defeat the Fluffy with a Bug Bite. Unfortunately we got paralyzed from its static. I nearly make a great mistake because a critical hit with this Volt Switch would have met the end for Heimlich. So I switch out to Atta who takes 2 more Volt Switches and end the battle with a Power Gem. So with that we defeat Elesa and claim our 4th gym badge. Before the next gym a lot of things happen. First I catch a Shelmet on Route 6. And because it is a trait evolution I can immediately evolve it into an Excelgor. At the same time our Dwebble evolves into Crustle, and after these two evolutions we can go to one of the best places in the whole of Unova region, the Chargestone Cave, where we can find our Bolt of Jolt, our very own Joltik. Because the level cap is high enough we can also evolve Joltik and go with Galvantula to the ground gym. Against Clay, one of our new teammates is the star of the show. But first we start with Crustle so it can again set up some Stealth Rocks. Because Krokorok has set up a Sandstorm, and stay in and defeat Krokorok with one Bug Bite and healing with its Citrus Berry back to full HP. I gave our Excelgor the experience share so it can level up to level 37 when it learns Giga Drain. While Sandslash comes out, I switch to Excelgor who can start using Giga Drain and one hit KO the Sandslash. Onix is Clay's third Pokemon, and thanks to Stealth Rock's damage, we surpass 30 and defeat the Onix with 1 Giga Drain. Clay's last Pokemon is surely a run killer, his Excadrill. If I switch into almost every other Pokemon, it gets one-shotted from his Rock Slice, so I stay in and start praying. And luckily Molt survives with 8 HP, I can't stay in, so I use U-turn to do a little bit of extra damage and switch to Leavanny. Because every hit would have KO'd Molt, Excadrill goes for a random move and luckily it is Bulldoze. We survive another Rock Slide and hit a critical Leaf Ray to defeat the Excadrill and win our 5th gym badge. After our victory we can go and catch one of the best bug Pokemon in existence, a level 35 Volcarona that can be found in the Relic Castle. Even though it is a very strong Pokemon, one quick ball is enough to catch it and add it to the team. One of the really best things added into Black 2 is the Pokemon World Tournament, a place where you can battle gym leaders and champs from the past, but for now we have to deal with our rival Charon and Colress. All 3 are very easy because our level is still the same after the gym battle and theirs is scaled down to level 25, so we become champion for the very first time in this run and go on with our adventure. In the Mistralton gym we battle against Skyla, as our bug Pokemon's worst nightmare. Luckily, we can counter those flying types with our secondary types like Rock from our Crustle. Again, we start off with setting up the rocks, and then we switch to Galvantula, who first avoids an Attract and then outspeeds the Swoobat and hits it with a super effective Electro Ball. The same goes for Swanna and Sigilis, and because Skarmory has some massive damage, I want to switch out with Volsmith, but we are lucky and hit a critical hit, so Skarmory is defeated and we win the Jet Badge from Skyla, who flies us after our victory to the other side of Unova. After a trip to the Reversal Mountain, we arrive in Andela town where we fight Hughes for the second time. He starts with a pheasant, but it is no match for our Manny. Then Ember comes out, so I switch out with our Volt Switch to Heimlich. And for some reason he goes for takedown and gets poisoned from the poison point. When Ember heals, I go for Swords Dance, so then one Bulldoze is enough to defeat Ember and I finish the battle off with a single Mega Horn. The next thing is finalize our team, because on Route 12 we can catch a Heracross and on Route 11 is Scarabblast that we can as well immediately evolve into Escavalier. Against Drayden, Crystal starts again a battle, but this time for another reason. Because he has the Shell Armor ability, he can't critical hit, so we start with Shell Smashing so that he can defeat Dredagon with an X-Scissor, then survive an Earth Power from Flydon with 7 HP to follow it up with another Shell Smash. Thanks to the second Shell Smash we are faster, and with the help of a Rock Gem we can defeat Flygon for sure with a Rock Slide. Then I hope to do the same thing against Altaria, but our Rock Slide misses, and then Altaria goes for a Fire Blast who would surely take us out, but he avoids the attack and strikes back with the Rock Slide to defeat the Altaria. Drayden's last Pokemon is Haxorus, and I'm not sure Crustle is faster than it, so we switch to our Escavalier who can take a hit from a Dragon Tail and is forced to switch out to Volcarona. Haxorus doesn't have a Rock type move, so I start using Silver Wind in the hope to get a boost. Then Haxorus goes for Shadow Claw, what does a little bit under half, but Volcarona can end the battle with a second Silver Wind and so winning our 7th gym badge. With the Legend bat in our case, we start the long endgame of Pokémon Black 2. First, Team Plasma freezes Pelusa City with their Ice Cannon, and after defeating some grunts, it is time for Zinzaloon. Zinzaloon is luckily no match for us because of our new team member Torny the Heracross. He can defeat 2 of the Cryogonal and a Weavile with a Brick Break and some close combats. After Zinzaloon, the battle against the Shadow Triad goes the same thing with a Brick Break Festival. Then it is time for the 8th gym and one of the most beautiful gyms in all of Pokemon, where we face the water specialist Marlon. Flint is back on the team from the bench and starts with a super effective Leaf Blade to defeat the Wailord. Then Mantine comes in, so I switch to Manny who survives an Air Slash and defeats it with an Electro Ball. Caracosta is 3rd, so I switch out for a Volt Switch, so Liveni takes a Rock Slide and defeats the big turtle with another Leaf Blade. Marlon's last Pokemon is his Jellicent. Fearing a death, I switch to my defensive wall Thumper, who eats a Shadow Ball, but sadly he can't hit very hard back, so I use Bug for some damage, but it does not do a lot. Then I switch to Scolipede, who gets critically hit by a hard Scald and gets burned. Then I need to switch out again and go to Excelgor, who after getting hit by a Shadow Ball hits a hard Giga Drain but doesn't defeat the Jellicent. After that, Jellicent heals with a berry and Excelgor hits another Giga Drain and nearly defeats it, but then he starts healing himself with Recover. This goes on for some time until I switch with U-turn to Liveni, thinking he would go again for Recover, what also happens. Then a super effective Miracle Seed boost Leaf Blade does the trick and defeats the big jellyfish and Marlon for the Wave Badge. After traversing through the first part of Team Plasma's boat, we battle together with Hugh against Zinzaloon, but just like the last battle against him, our Heracross is unstoppable. With his Brick Breaks, he blasts through the opposite Pokemon, and only when Scolipede comes out we change his Cavalier, but then Hugh's Ember defeats the big bug. After our victory, Team Plasma flies away in their ship to the Giant Chasm. In the Giant Chasm we see a Team Plasma civil war, but our big battles await us in the ship and in the Giant Chasm itself. First up is our final battle against Zinzaloon, but this is also an experience farm for Heracross because 3 fighting moves ends it and we win against Zinzaloon. Colress is a lot harder. He starts with Magneton and I start to bulldoze with Scolipede. We get critical hit, but it doesn't matter because the 4 times effective hit hits sturdy. He then tries to paralyze us, but we again have a Cherry Berry to cure it. Then he tries to heal, but 2 bulldozes later and the Magneton is defeated. Then comes the evolved for Magnezone, and again Sturdy is a big problem because after surviving our hit, he paralyzes us and then Magnezone blows up, doing a bit over half on our Scolipede. Beheeyem is the 3rd Pokemon and we switch to his Cavalier who tanks a Psychic. Then we both set up a Pokemon for 2 turns, but the next turn he goes again for a setup move, but I can defeat him with an X-Scissor. Klinklang traverses an Iron Head but keeps setting also up and he finds immediately after it. After eating a Rock Slide from his final Pokemon we don't flinch and defeat Colress with another X-Scissor. The big bad bully in this game is Ghetsis and he starts with trying to kill us using Kuyrem, but luckily N saves us with his Zekrom After being saved, Kuyrem shoots some lasers to Zekrom so that he can start to transform. But even after this transformation, Kuyrem is no match for our Escavalier because one Iron Head is enough to defeat it. Now Ghetsis is surely angered and starts to attack us with his Cofagrigus. He almost can't hurt us, but the same thing goes for us, and we don't want to hit him directly so his ability don't turn, and we try with some Bug Buzzes. After I think we have tried enough, I try to defeat him with an Iron Head, but it's just not strong enough to kill it. Luckily, he then heals, and then we can defeat the Cofagrigus without taking too much damage. His second Pokemon is an Electros, and we need to switch because he has Flamethrower. Crystal can take a Flamethrower, and with the help of a Bug Gem boosted X-Scissor, we nearly kill it. Then a Thunderbolt can kill us, but I have to stay in, and Crystal luckily survives it and finishes the Electros off with another X-Scissor. Seismitoad is next, so we switch to Excelgor, who is fast and strong, and with 1 Giga Drain we can defeat the frog with ease. His biggest threat is his Hydreigon, so we switch out with U-turn to do just under half damage. Then we switch to Escavalier, who can take a Dragon Rush. Hydreigon tries to hit us with a Rock Slide, but I go for a Swords Dance. Then we do that Rant Odor, but only the Rock Slide hits because he flinches us. After 2 more turns, I defeat the beast with an X-Scissor. Drapion can't hit Escavalier too much, so I can stay in and hit him with an Iron Head to leave Ghetsis with 1 more Pokemon Toxic Rogue. For this Pokemon, I switch to Volcarona, who hits a Fire Blast to end Ghetsis once and for all. Before I can challenge the Elite Four, I have one more battle against Hugh at the end of Victory Road. He starts again with his Ampheasant, so Manny defeats him easily with another Electro Ball. Embor is next, so we switch out to Volcarona, who takes a Flamethrower. In between battles, I found the TM for Psychic and defeat the Big Pig. I switch against Simipour to Heracross, who defeats it with 1 Mega Horn. And the Buffalam doesn't stand a chance against our close combat to end our rivalry. After the battle, we go through the gate and see the Pokemon League in front of us. And after some planning, I take these 6 Pokemon with me to our last 5 battles. First up is Excelgor, holding a Raspberry with the moves Bug Buzz, U-Turn, Rain Dance and Giga Drain. The second is Thorny the Heracross with Night Slash, Mega Horn, Close Combat and Protect, holding a Muscle Band. Hopper the Volcarona has Quiver Dance, Silverwind, Psychic and Flamethrower, holding a Psychic Gem. Galvantula goes all out attacking with Electro Ball, Bug Buzz, Energy Ball and Volt Switch with a Magnet. Our last 2 Pokemon are the walls of the team, with Thumper the Escavalier with X-Scissor, Iron Head, Bug Buzz and Swords Dance holding Raspberry, and Crystal has Shell Smash, Stealth Rock, Rock Wrecker and X-Scissors with Leftovers. With these 6 I start against Ghost type specialist Shauntal, and I do this because Chandelure is the most dangerous Pokemon in the entire Elite Four. Again, the first Pokemon that we face is a Cofagrigus, so I purposely go with Giga Drain at the start of it so we can't kill it entirely. After 3 Giga Drains and getting burned, I set up the rain so I can switch out to Escavalier to finish Cofagrigus off. Then she sees a kill with Chandelure, so I can switch again out in the rain to survive a Fire Blast, but luckily this one misses, so the second one just hits for under half our health, and then we blast back with a Rock Wrecker and defeat the dangerous Chandelure. Next up is Golurk, and we first need to recharge after the Rock Wrecker and take an Earthquake in the process. Then I switch to Heracross, who can hit some Night Slashes and take out the Golurk in a few turns. When Drifloon comes out, I first protect to scout her moves, but luckily then I switch to Tumber when she uses a weak Psychic. We just can't KO the Drifloon with another Iron Head, and because Tumper's HP is low, I switch out to Manny, who can easily take a Thunderbolt and defeat the Drifloon with an Electro Ball. Last up is Bayonet, so I Volt Switch nearly killing the Bayonet, and Hopper just has to survive a Shadow Claw and ending the battle with a Silverwind, defeating the first Elite Four. After Shauntal is Marshal. Because Sawk has 30, we again start with Stealth Rocks. I try and see how much damage I can do with X-Scissor, but it is too little. So I switch to Volcarona, who first burns the throw, making it a very dangerous Pokemon, but luckily our Psychic Gem boosted Psychic is enough to kill it. Then Concolor and Sawk meet the same fate as the throw. When Winchow is out, I thought that it would be faster, so I started using Quiver Dance, but it is slower and it goes for Bounce. Next up, we do again Quiver Dance so that we don't lose a turn, and after another Psychic and the Flamethrower, we defeat the second Elite Four member, Marshal. The easiest Elite 4 member is Caitlyn. We start off with Crustle, who uses Shell Smash and avoids an Hypnosis, so we can do it again, and then Musharna hits the Hypnosis, but we wake up immediately with a Chesto Berry. After that, we can just hit X-Scissors to end the battle. The last Elite 4 member that we face is Grimsley. He always starts out with a Fake Out from Liepard, so I use Thumper to take a little bit of damage. Then he is sadly immobilized by Love, and he needs 4 turns to finally hit him with an X-Scissor. Crocodile is next, but even after an Intimidate, Thumper defeats the Croc with ease. Then I switch out to Heracross, and one Brick Break can defeat the Scrafty. I then luckily switch out to Galvantula because Bisharp has a Quick Claw, and an Aerial Ace would have certainly killed our Heracross. Manny then survives a Night Slash and hits back with a critical Electro Ball. Absol is the last Pokemon, and then I switch again to Heracross, who can defeat it with a close combat, and with that we have defeated the Elite Four deathless. Only one last battle remains, and it is the one against the champion. I take the stairs to her temple, and when I open the door, Iris stands right in front of me. This is the last battle of the game. I start with Excelgor, who hits a Bug Buzz and defeats her Hydreigon. But then the problem starts. Aggron is next, and I have no Pokemon that can safely switch into his moves. So I try a Giga Drain and fear the worst, but Molt avoids the attack. The only thing I can do now is try another Giga Drain and hope that it's a critical hit, but this time we're not that lucky, and the Head Smash connects and takes our first victim of the run. After this loss, I switch out to Heracross, who quad super effective Brick Breaks takes revenge for Molt. I then go for Protect, hoping that a Gem Boost would be used under Protect, but sadly this doesn't happen. He goes for the Acrobatics, but it doesn't lose the gem. The next turn I try Close Combat, hoping that we're faster, but Archeops and hits us with the quad effective, super effective, gem boosted Acrobatics to take out our second Pokemon. Annie is luckily faster, so she can kill Archeops, and then Drayden comes out. A Bug Buzz does 3/4 health, but then he starts outraging and kills Manny in the process. I then switch into Tumber, who starts to Swords Dance because thanks to the Rocky Helmet damage from Tentagon, he defeats himself. Fifth is Lapras, and we just survive a Hydro Pump and then defeat it with an Iron Head. Iris' last Pokemon is Haxorus, and with a single X-Scissor it can defeat our Escavalier. We then have 2 more Pokemon standing and Crystal comes out. Haxorus starts setting up with a Dragon Dance, and my X-Scissor hits for just over half. Haxorus then starts using his own Outrage, and we see our HP bar going down, and luckily it stopped on 56 HP. Dim then launches the last attack of the run, and with one last Rock Wrecker he defeats the Haxorus and wins for us the battle and this Pokémon Black 2 challenge mode using only Bug types. I really enjoyed this run, and after starting the second run I never thought that we could have made it deathless until the final battle, but the further we got the more I hoped that we could end it this way. But alas, in the last battle we lost 4 Pokemon. Comment certainly below in which game you would like to see another Monotype Nuzlocke. I got a few ideas at the moment, but if you guys have some great suggestions, I maybe will do them. And until we see each other next time, catch you later!